So Nicky, as a professional journalist who is active on Twitter, what is your opinion on Twitter being a news source for many people?
Well, it's great, but you've got to be very, very careful. And I'll give you an example. When the old rocker, brilliant rocker in my opinion, Lou Reed died, I saw the tweet saying Lou Reed is dead, R.I.P., R.I.P., R.I.P. But what I did, working for the BBC, I rang the office and I said, has it been confirmed yet? Has it been confirmed yet? Because I wanted to tweet, because I was a big Lou Reed fan, so I wanted to tweet along the lines, line from Perfect Day, I love that song. But I waited for confirmation, and I waited for confirmation, and of course the absolute confirmation, which is the kind of standard, the BBC said, we've just had it confirmed, we've spoken to his agent, so you can't go on hearsay. You've got to, as a responsible journalist, if you're reporting something that you see on Twitter, have to get it confirmed by a number of sources before you go with it. Otherwise, you just look stupid. And there was another one, the actor, there was a rumour going around, that, I mean, you get lots of these rumours all the time, there was a rumour going around that Morgan Freeman, the actor, had died. And I even saw a friend of mine saying, oh, it was great, I met him and stuff like that. And you've just got to check stuff out, you know, because it's very easy with Twitter to see something and to get really excited about it or to be interested in it and engaged by it and to go with it. But I think it's a fantastic resource and a fantastic tool, but it has to be treated with the same caution that you would if somebody came up to you in the street and said, have you heard something?
That's true. So in recent years, a lot of news stories either broke on Twitter or gained notoriety over Twitter, such as Paul Walker's death recently, or Nelson Mandela's death. Do you think this is a good thing, or do you think it should be left to the professionals to break stories like that?
Oh, I think it's a good thing. It spreads it around the world, so long as it's true, as I say, and it's a valuable resource for journalists as well. The thing that I feel slightly uncomfortable about is people feeling, when someone dies, you know, people feeling, the celebs feeling that they have to say something, they have to do a little tribute in under 140 words on Twitter. That's become the thing, hasn't it? I mean, I've done it myself. But when celebrities die, you know, and then you see it in the paper the next day, on Twitter, celebrities paid tribute. It's good in a way, you know what people are thinking, and people can say a few heartfelt words. But at the same time, you feel that a lot of celebrities feel, oh, I should say something. What shall I say? So maybe there's a bit something potentially superficial about it.
Personally, for you, what are the positives of being a journalist on Twitter?
You find stuff out. You can have interesting debates. You can observe interesting debates. You can find really interesting articles on things that you would not otherwise have come across. If you see an article on something, this is worth reading on different issues, and I think that's really great. So it's a great resource from that point of view. But sometimes when you retweet stuff, you think, oh, that's an interesting article, and people think that's what you think. So you've got to be careful of that, because I've retweeted stuff that I absolutely don't agree with, but I just thought it's an interesting read. Some people have retweets are not an endorsement. Hopefully people know that, so I haven't sort of written that, but you've got to be careful of that as a journalist. I would not retweet something, for example, that was a contentious issue which people had the impression I took a side on. So if people say, will you retweet this particular petition to make Parliament change this law, I can't do that as a BBC journalist, because that means I'm taking a side. I'm very interested in animal welfare and animal rights, but I've not retweeted anything on the controversy over the badger cull, because I would have to do an interview on the radio with both sides of the argument, whatever I think. So I've got to be very careful about divisive and controversial issues that are a matter of newsworthiness.
Right. Do you think there are any negatives of you? Obviously, you've mentioned a couple of being a journalist on Twitter. But do you think there are any other negatives that are caused by the general public?
Yeah, well, I think sometimes it can be a sort of lot of mass bullying on Twitter. You know, and people, if someone's accused of something, I'll tell you a good example was when Stephen Gately from the Irish boy band died. Remember that? And there was an article by Jan Moyer, which some people thought was, in the Daily Mail, some people thought was pretty poisonous, and about Stephen Gately. You know, he was gay and he died. And a lot of people started criticising Jan Moyer. a lot of people were criticising Jan Moore for being horrible about Stephen Gately, and consequently were horrible about Jan Moore and to Jan Moore. So there can be a bit of a kind of mob mentality to it. People not thinking about others' feelings or being guilty of the crime that they are accusing somebody else of. So that's the one kind of danger, is that kind of, you know, mob rule, mob mentality. Yeah. No, it doesn't happen very often, but it can happen.